Hey everyone, well this is quite unique. Welcome to 360 Timmy, and my guest today is Grant Turley, who I met the other day
Randomly.
on the subway
Yeah.
at Port Street, who gave me great advice about going to Coney Island.
Yeah.
So I wanted to do a story about an Englishman in New York, but Grant's Australian, so we're going to turn that right on its head. So Grant, you've been here quite some time. You've
Yes.
had a long relationship with New York. Where did it start?
First came in 2007, so just prior to the financial crisis. I actually came here for a finance job of all things, and it was crazy markets. I was actually a foreign exchange trader, believe it or not, and we were a customer of some of the banks that failed.
Now serving 141.
And we were dealing with guys from Bear Stearns and Lehman's, and they were there one day and they were gone the next.
Yeah.
We were also every day our head office was in Sydney, and we get new instructions. Don't deal with that counterparty. Don't talk to them. Which made it very confusing for us, because all of a sudden the counterparties would go, "Why aren't you talking to us anymore?" And we couldn't say. We're not allowed to say. It's confidential. So, I managed to get the peak of the craziness. I was working till mid 2009, so basically March, and every day was like a roller coaster. Announcements, the Fed this, the Fed that, the government's going to do that, banks failing, and it was exhilarating. It's like being in a casino, but it's not a casino because you're getting hit with all this random stuff that you don't necessarily anticipate.
I'm keeping an ear out for your order.
No, I agree.
I'll keep looking.
Me too. I'm hungry. So it was a lot of fun. And when I first came here, I didn't know anybody other than my work colleagues, and we'd hang out on Friday night. But Saturday night, I just do whatever, and it was great because I think the mindset I brought was I was only going to be here for sort of 3 years. So you write yourself a list. What do you want to do? Where do you want to go? Not just New York, but in America in general. And as a result, I think I've probably seen more of America than most Americans, because you force yourself to go and do things because you go, all right, I've only got a certain number of weekends. I also have to share that time with my colleagues, and they want to do things and whatever. So we had to sort of coordinate. But I went to the Grand Canyon, I went to Yosemite, I went to Arcadia National Park. America has the best national parks. And it's such a nice change from the city, which is all about people and intensity and noise and the energy.
Yeah.
I mean, New York is all about the energy. So it can be exhilarating and lift you up, but it can tear you down. It's a harder place to live.
So you explained earlier that you were here when it was the kind of New York I remember from the 80s,
yes,
when it was a bit,
I was here pre-Giuliani as a backpacker, in fact, and we stayed with a friend down in Soho, which is now all ritzy and glamorous.
1195.
Yes.
Hey.
Yes.
Yeah.
Finally. And a large Coke. Large Coke as well, please. Yeah. Yeah.
Now serving 257.
So
Large,
just for
regular.
the benefit of the camera, we're in Maceys, McDonald's at the moment, waiting for Grant's order. He's kindly given me some time in his lunch hour. We've come to this McDonald's.
We thought it was going to be quick.
Yeah,
it has not been quick. I lost the order.
Yeah.
But anyway, pre-Giuliani, and so we stayed in a literal New York loft in Green Street, which is now one of the most exclusive streets.
Probably like millions and millions of pounds.
Oh yeah.
Dollars now.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
And so let's walk and talk, I suppose.
No. Sit down.
Sit down. Let's see if we can find somewhere.
Yeah.
And her father. Nowhere to go.
Nowhere to go.
Yeah, I know. This is the other problem. All right. Someone's bagged the table.
How about? We could go out. Do you want to go outside and sit and eat, maybe?
Yeah, very quickly.
Let's do that.
Quickly. What's the time? Oh shit! I've got about 10 minutes left.
Okay.
I'll get you to hold that.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I'll am. So basically, if we go to this corner.
Yeah.
So pre-Giuliani, loft, It was an artist area back then. There were people sleeping in the doorways, and the person we were staying with was saying, don't look at anybody on the subway. Keep your head down.
Yeah.
You can't go to Harlem. All the things, because we wanted to go to all the places we'd seen in the movies. And she's just going, no, you can't go there.
Yeah.
You can't do that. I mean, you still had all the classic museums and we did all the touristy things, but it was seriously scary. And coming from Australia, I was kind of concerned. And moreover, when I got offered the job to come to New York, I was kind of told to come to New York. I didn't actually get much of a choice. I was going, I'm not so sure. I've been a couple of times and
That's it for me, because this is my first weekend
Yeah.
in New York, and I was expecting similar, actually.
Yeah. No, it's completely different.
Yeah,
And then
it is,
people, especially prior to the pandemic, people used to say, "Oh, New York's dangerous," because there's a whole narrative in the politics here in certain parts of America that big cities are dangerous. I feel safer here than in most places.
Yeah.
It's a little sketchier on the subway these days now. There are more mental health.
I have seen, so
yeah,
I've been there many times, because my first
Yeah.
trip was when I saw you on Saturday.
Oh, yeah.
But I think I've seen twice, yeah. I mean,
So a lot of problems with mental health.
yes.
And the other thing that's changed is, did you recall the George Floyd
Yes.
protest?
Yes.
All right. So the cops here, if they don't get enough love from the people, they give up.
Yeah.
And one of the things they've given up on is enforcing mental health. And you get street sellers now in Canal Street where all the fake stuff is sold. And it's also resulted in all the goods being locked up behind the counter, which is all new.
Yeah.
And a lot of places are shutting down, like pharmacies. There used to be so many pharmacies, like ridiculous number around me. I had like a 6 in about a 3-block radius. Same companies. It made no sense. But people, they used to lose so much to theft that they just decided it's not worth it anymore. And so everything's going online and mail order. But even that stuff gets stolen.
Yeah.
So
you're going back a little bit to the sort of 70s and 80s.
well, yeah. Well,
Those false down is a
we've
long
had a
way.
dorm. I live in a dormant building, and the benefit. I think the tradition of that was really because to keep the riffraff out.
Yeah.
These days, it's really accept Amazon packages.
Yeah. And Uber.
And Uber Eats and all that. Back in the old days, it was literally dormant, as in keep the sketchy people out, and so I never had that in Australia. I never had to think about any of this stuff.
Yeah.
It was a whole new experience for me, kind of, and I feel a bit weird that people would observe me coming and going to my own residence, especially if I had a few lagers on a Friday night,
Possibly, I'm just thinking, possibly Macy's have the slowest lifts at McDonald's.
Yeah, they
in
do.
the city.
Yeah. No, it's fine. We're fine.
I had to wait 10 minutes to come up here.
Yeah. Well, we'll probably get the All Stops Express now.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say, like I said, I'm leaving in a couple of days. I don't really care. So, what was the point I was going to? Yeah. So it's sort of like I've seen an evolution from pre-Giuliani, where it was really scary.
Yeah.
To prior to the pandemic, where it was amazing, like safe. Oh wow, we did well. And then post George Floyd, post pandemic, the attitude of the cops is just so. They let all the stuff that they used to crack down on go.
Yeah.
Jumping the turnstiles to get into the subway. That was the.
I've seen that a bit, actually.
Yeah, so that was the Giuliani thing, right? It was
Yeah.
called broken windows policing. And what that meant was, the theory was that the people that would do that sort of stuff were probably up to other things.
Yeah.
So you could get them on, I don't know if we can go this way, to be honest. No. All right, we're going to go through that thing.
Oh. This could be interesting.
You're a good man.
This is 360. Timmy's never done this before.
No, that's all right. We'll go and
Let's
sit down over here.
So you can eat your lunch.
Yeah.
That's the important thing.
So
this is Macy's on 30.
Yeah, and this is the Christmas window.
Yeah.
So one of the things Giuliani's theory was that if you found the people jumping the turnstiles in the subway, you could arrest them and then you could find out all the other stuff they'd done, right?
Yeah.
So I want to sit somewhere. So away from the music.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah.
And so that's how and then they did the stop and frisk, which is no longer, it's frowned upon. And America talks about being the freest country in the world. I don't buy that at all, honestly. I mean, it's in some ways it's more of a police state, and I think the other thing is they undertrain the policemen, right? So I personally think a lot of the problems they have with shootings, at least in part, is they're all ex-military guys that are retired out of the military, right? You're a grunt, you get to a certain point, you need a second job for the rest of your career, and well, police is very attractive. They typically have good pensions. But they're used to dealing with people in a militaristic way, unlike Australian police or British police, where they treat you as a person, and there's not the automatic mindset that the other person's got a gun and they're out to get you. So, and there's always a presumption that if a cop pulls a gun, pretty much on it doesn't matter what circumstance. At least this is my observation. I can't say I do this all the time. If they shoot someone and they kill them, the jury's always going to let them off.
Yeah.
And so it ends up being a ridiculous situation where, like, there was an Australian woman who was in Minnesota, this was a couple of years ago, and she went up to approach a police car to report something. She happened to be in her night dress or something, apparently, and they shot her. They thought and she had a phone in her hand, and they got off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think I've just been given the wrong order after all that. Anyway,
what have you got?
I don't know, a quarter pounder or something. Anyway, whatever.
It's a good solid piece of meat.
Yeah, that's true.
So I'm going to let you eat a little bit.
Yeah.
So I probably just describe. So I met you on
Court Street.
Court Street.
That's where I live.
That's where you live, yeah.
Yeah.
And you gave me some great advice.
Yes.
To get on the Coney Island ferry free.
Oh yeah, yeah. Staten Island ferry.
Staten Island. Sorry.
Yeah, Coney Island.
Staten Island. Oh, wow.
Yeah, Staten Island. No, that's really good. Staten Island ferry's good.
That was good. I took your advice and got on the right side. The only trouble was the ferry I picked didn't have a deck going out, so I waited an extra half hour to come back. But that was great advice. But my perception of New York is, as we described, is I was expecting the kind of equalizer of the 80s where it was graffiti and trouble. It's not. It's clean. Everyone's been very friendly.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, I have seen a few mental health issues on trains. You're on a carriage and someone gets in they're shouting into the air. They're getting quite agitated.
Or you get people sleeping on the seat.
I have seen that. Yeah.
Yeah. So on really cold days, really hot or really cold?
Yeah.
Because there's air conditioning, so that's what they tend to do.
Yeah.
Allegedly, we have our cops in the subways checking bags and.
I have seen some patrols.
But mostly what they're doing is they're on their phone.
Yeah.
And they stand around in groups and just talk. Because the cops get paid incredibly well. It's hard to get in. And it's almost impossible to get kicked out. And the pension's great. And so there's a huge, and there's it's interesting. Irish Americans seem to be a huge contingent, and I think there's other ethnicities. And a lot of them actually don't live in the city. They live outside the city and come in.
Yeah.
But it's sort of like one of those things. You're in the club, and other people get you in the club. Normally the club's open to everybody, but in reality it's not open to everybody. But
a bit of an example of security. I went to a couple of Irish bars the other night, and only one, myself and my friend went in. We were frisked, right? And then, but what I found,
you were frisked,
yeah. But the irony was,
I never get frisked.
No, this is what I thought was unusual. And the irony was, I had a backpack on me. They didn't even check in the back. So it was a little crazy. I think we literally went in and went out for that one. Went across the street to a really nice.
Don't apply logic to anything in America.
No, this is true, yeah.
For example, the whole TSA thing, right? Security theatre. The people aren't paid enough. They don't really care. I don't think they've ever stopped anybody. I mean, I don't know. I only can compare to Australia. We do the same scanning and things like that, but we don't do the take your shoes off and all that.
Yeah.
I mean, I now have all the pre-checks and all the extra stuff, so I pay for it, so I don't have to do any of that stuff. But it's still, I don't know. It's locked into the system now, so it's a time cost to people every day. I mean, that's the, you know, they obviously did a lot of destruction when they blew up the World Trade Centers, and they're incredibly sad. But what it's done is, for the next perpetual, we will have these security checks, and whether they actually do anything is debatable. But you can't. There's a whole mindset here, right?
Yeah.
Both sides of politics are willing to spend on military and police, and then you start going, do we want social services? The Democrats, yes. The Republicans, no.
Yeah.
That's literally what it comes to. They can do military. Everybody got to have a strong military, got to have 8-10 aircraft carriers. I don't know, but you know, maybe in these times it makes sense, right? You know, you got, well, look, maybe China's going to hit Taiwan tomorrow. We don't know, but
the way it's going at the moment. I mean, it's like you said, actually.
Yeah.
Rudy Giuliani cleaned up this city, and he was a mayor to be admired.
Yeah.
And now he's the guy that is being parodied and in court, and his hair dye's running on TV and all that stuff.
And DJT leaves destruction in his way.
Yeah.
He seems to be Teflon Don, but all the other people
Pay for it.
Or worse than him, which is the extraordinary that he's got away with this his whole life. It may be catching up with him. Who knows?
Who knows? Well, it'd be an interesting year ahead, wouldn't it? So, you're here for the long term, I take it.
At times, especially during the pandemic, I thought about going home, but Australia made it so hard to get home.
Yeah.
That
yes, they were very.
like it was very expensive. I went home for 6 months afterwards. So I've had my fill of Australia for a while, but you know, I miss the food, I miss the people, every country's got its good and bad things, right? So you try and maximise the good and minimise the bad. I find the winter here difficult.
Yeah.
The rest of the year's fine. It's just 4 months. If I was rich enough and I could have a Florida or somewhere warm, it'd be fine.
I know. Saying from the UK, this is something. I mean, I left a very wet UK, but it wasn't that cold. But this is this is November, and it is actually freezing to the bone.
Oh yeah,
kind of thing. It's,
and the thing is, we get a damp cold here.
Yeah.
As opposed to, I ski and I can go to -10 out in Colorado or whatever.
Yeah.
And you go, oh wow, the beautiful crisp mountain air. -10 in New York is your face is freezing, it's about to fall off, your hands are frozen. It's just the dampness of the air that makes it really unpleasant. And so the subway, which is too hot in summer, suddenly becomes quite attractive in winter because it's all heated, or they don't really have air conditioning down there. So you get a lot of homeless people camping out there.
Yeah,
but and New Yorkers have the great ability to ignore people.
Yeah.
Which is sad in some ways, but I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. It's sort of like in any other city, or certainly I think Australia, UK, people would be concerned about someone lying in the gutter here.
Yeah.
People here can walk past.
Have you ever been to San Francisco?
Not recently.
I went a couple of years ago, and I was absolutely shocked there.
Oh yeah. That didn't work.
On an epic scale. I believe a lot of homeless people were transferred from Atlanta from the games and dropped off in.
Yes.
Francisco.
Yeah. Well, that's what Giuliani did too here.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. I'm told he bussed people out to Jersey.
Okay.
Yeah. So you give them enough money or one-way ticket down to Florida or somewhere else, right? That's my understanding. I don't claim to be an expert on it.
No, but that certainly seemed to be the case in San Francisco. And the irony is, obviously, like New York, it's where all the money of America is. And you're seeing, I mean, I saw 14-year-old kids begging for food and like homeless
America,
people.
They can be cruel to fellow Americans.
Yeah.
In a way that I've never seen in any other culture. And what I mean by that is this mindset that unless you're a value add to society or you're a productive member, so that everything's about jobs and whatever. If you can do a job, okay, you can have healthcare.
Yeah.
But if you don't, you're just a drag on society. And that's certainly true of one party over the other. And I'm going, I don't know, I see Social Security as a cost of doing business to have a civil society.
Yeah.
because we go into Florida, my wife and I, and my family, her family lives in a gated community down in Florida. And we were looking at buying down there, and her parents are going, "Oh, you need to get into a gated community." And I'm going, "I've never lived in a gated community. I don't need to live in a gated community. I don't feel." There's a default here for Americans, I think, that people they don't know, they default to the idea that they're going to threaten them, that they're unsafe. Whereas I think, certainly for Australians, we like to give people the benefit of doubt until proven otherwise.
Yeah.
Like, we approach people in a friendly nature. Here, it's been drilled into them. It's unsafe, and this is the whole gun culture.
Yeah.
You need to protect yourself. I don't feel I need a gun. I've lived here for 13 years, and this is allegedly the roughest, and I mean, it's not the roughest city in America. And, you know, if you listen to Fox News, they'd say everybody should have a concealed carry. I don't need a gun. I mean, there's an occasional crazy person on the subway, but I can walk down the other end of the platform, or get in the next carriage.
Which is what I did the other day, and another passenger when it happened. But you know, it's, I would say I feel safer here than I do in London, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, it's not. Look, we got this beautiful plaza out here. People are happy.
Streets are clean. There seems to be every shop seems to be open, not boarded up.
Yeah, No, I mean there are. I could tell you to go. I could point out to you if you're here for long. I could tell you areas to go where it's not quite so salubrious, but there's no. Even talking about going back to pre-Giuliani. We went up to Harlem. So our friend, we happened to be here for Christmas, and our friend who lived here. We watched movies. Harlem, we want to go see it. And she's going, "There's no way I'm letting you go up to Harlem." As a surprise, she hired a driver to take us and drive us along 125th Street, which is like the main road. I go up there all the time now. But back then, she had to bribe the guy.
To drive through it.
To drive through it. Because it was considered so scary and sketchy that you could get robbed at the traffic, the traffic lights, or your hubcap would be stolen. So, the change in New York, and you got to give Giuliani credit for what he did. I'm not sure how he got to where he is now, but it's certainly. And
I suppose, like all successful politicians, when they're in too long, they start believing their own press, and it goes horribly wrong. And it's a interesting story. I mean, I guess even Donald Trump, I know he wasn't perhaps so controversial back in the day, was he? He was making cameos in Home Alone, things like that.
I mean, he was always a showman, right?
And The Apprentice, of course.
And he got a lot of stuff for that. The reality is he's a failed businessman. He lost lots of casinos, and he,
overvalued his building, as we're finding out at the moment in court.
It was his father that made all the money. The father was the one who did it successfully. The kids are kind of, I don't know if they're any good, but he's very good at being a showman. And America loves a showman. It always has, always will. I mean, the way that the reverence is given to a president here, and respect that Australians and UK people of the UK, Brits we would never give them the same. At all.
I think there's only one, isn't there? Winston Churchill. Some would argue even after the war, he didn't have the respect he does
he got ditched pretty quickly.
Yeah, he did.
So it's sort of like. We have such a different skepticism about politicians and their relationship, but here, go on and comparing presidents and that president, and I mean, I appreciate their love for their country. The patriotic nature of Americans is kind of inspiring in some ways, but a little scary in others, because it means, I think as we discussed earlier, that if you're told from the minute you grow up that you're in the best country in the world and everything is the best here, which it certainly isn't. Anybody that's travelled, all my friends are well-travelled Americans, New Yorkers. They know it's not the best, but it's the 95% of people who don't have a passport, have never gone anywhere, and have no interest in going anywhere. And because the vacation or the holidays they get for their work is 2 weeks, they don't want to get on a plane and go down to Australia. It takes too long. So it's a very blinkered view of the world, and in their mind, they're very good at some things, but you get extremes: extreme poverty, extreme wealth. Funny relationship to alcohol, funny relationships to sex, funny relationships to guns. You know, there's a lot of only in America things.
Yeah.
And some of those things are amazing. And when I say I have a love-hate relationship with America, I have an American wife, so I don't hate it, but I hate aspects of it. The gun culture I've never been comfortable with, but I don't feel the need to have a gun here. I feel safe.
Have you gone for citizenship?
I could.
Yeah.
I haven't, because they're the only country in the world other than Zimbabwe that has global taxation wherever you are. So if I went back to Australia, I'd have to do 2 tax returns, and the American tax return is incredibly painful. So we debated about it during the last presidency.
Yeah.
Because we're going, they may change the rules, but you know what? The only benefit I would get from it really was if I was about to commit a crime, I couldn't get deported. And I'm not about to commit a crime, so I don't know. I'm quite happy with my Australian passport. It gets me in just as many places as the rest, as the American one. If arguably, probably more places where we fly under the radar a little bit. So,
well, I'm very conscious of you've got to get back.
Yeah.
So Grant, thank you very much. It was great meeting you on the first day. You gave me some great advice. I've made a friend now. And, thank you very much.
Touch.
Yeah.
All right.
But thank you very much.
I better run.
See you soon. Off
Yeah.
you go.
All
Take
right.
care.
Thank you.